Good evening. Welcome to the special meeting of the Florence City Council. Please stand. We pray for the wisdom to make decisions that are beneficial to the people represented here. Empower us to speak honestly, reflect wisely, and vote with integrity. Seek your guidance tonight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wingo? Ms. Chambers?
Here.
Mr. Wynn?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Here. Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Cable?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
We have for your consideration second reading of 06-2026. This is an ordinance relating to the adoption of zoning text amendments to the Boone County zoning regulations applicable to the Boone Fiscal Court and legislative bodies for the City of Florence, Walton, and the City of Union. As members of the Boone County, Kentucky Planning Unit, and recommending that the zoning text amendments be considered for enactment to regulate and define manufactured home qualified, and mobile home, and identify zoning districts where such uses are allowed as authorized uses within the Boone County Planning Unit for Boone County, Kentucky. These text amendments to the Boone County zoning regulations being to Article 40, Section 4000, Article 5, Section 505.1, 505.2, 505.3, 505.4, 505.5, and Article 20, Section 2001. Subject to the recommended terms and provisions set forth in these recommended zoning text amendments set forth in the Technical Design Review Committee report, and providing these text amendments be approved and become part of the Boone County zoning regulations text applicable to the City of Florence, Kentucky. The purpose of this ordinance is to approve text amendments to the Boone County zoning regulations text. These text amendments being enacted to regulate and define manufactured home qualified, and mobile home, and identify zoning districts where such uses are allowed as authorized uses. The full text of 06-2026, including its exhibits, is available for examination in the office of the City Clerk of the City of Florence, Kentucky, in the Florence Government Center, 8100 Ewing Boulevard, during regular office hours. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Chambers, second by Mr. Wynn. Any discussion? This is a second reading. We did discuss this at a previous caucus meeting and a previous meeting that we voted on. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Cable?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
Next, we have for your consideration the first reading of ordinance 07-2026. It's an ordinance adopting and approving a concept development plan in a commercial 2 plan development Mall Road C2 PDMR district for an approximate 10.7 acre site located at 7606 to 7654 Mall Road, Florence, Kentucky, to allow the creation of an outlot and the construction of an approximate 990 square foot eating and drinking establishment, coffee house with drive-through service. This is Dutch Brothers Coffee Project. The effect of this ordinance is to allow change of concept development plan in a commercial 2 plan development Mall Road C2 PDMR district for an approximate 10.7 acre site located at 7606 to 7654 Mall Road, Florence, Kentucky, to allow the creation of an outlot and the construction of an approximate 990 square foot eating and drinking establishment. This is a coffee house with drive-through service. The full text of ordinance 07-2026, including its exhibits, is available for examination in the office of the City Clerk of the City of Florence, Kentucky, 8100 Ewing Boulevard, during regular office hours. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Wynn?
Second.
Second by Ms. Chambers. Any discussion? Again, this is a first reading of this ordinance. It was discussed previously at another meeting. Is there any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Cable?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
We have for your consideration Municipal Order MO3 2026. This is a municipal order approving the appointment of Susan Daniel to the City of Florence, Kentucky Urban Forest Commission to fill the unexpired term of Ed Huddleston. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Whalen?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion? Again, this resume was provided, and this was discussed at the last meeting. Ms. Whalen?
Just want to say thank you to Ed Huddleston for the many years of service to the Urban Forest Commission. I think his input was invaluable, and look forward to Ms. Daniel being a part of that and helping to move the Urban Forest project forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Cable?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
All right, for discussion tonight, Mr. Lewis will present Budget Amendment Number 1 for the fiscal year of 2025-26.
Thank you, Mayor. So, obviously, previous years, we would have this done much earlier in the year, around November timeframe. However, with the budget workshop upcoming in a couple weeks here, I reached out to our auditors, our new auditing firm, Barnes Denig, to ask for updated fund balances. So that was sort of the driving force behind getting this budget amendment done now, so that we have a baseline to compare next year's budget to, so we can compare the amended fiscal year 25-26 budget to the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27. So those are, all of the updated fund balances are within this document. Some additional departmental expenditures. For contractual services, we have 3 items that are all related to the ongoing federal investigation into revenue diversion. We have additional professional fees for enhanced audit services, as well as advisory services for in-depth financial controls, IT, tax compliance, and HR risk assessments. These are being done by a separate auditing firm, Dean Dorton. And then we also have special attorney's fees to employ outside counsel related to, again, the federal investigation. So the idea being that these incremental fees will be recouped either through insurance claims or through civil litigation. We also have an increase in telecommunications service budget due to increased service costs, I think through Alta Fiber. For fire, unfortunately, the COPIC program was defunded. This pass-through is just allocated here in the budget, so that, those expenses are offset through that grant, but unfortunately, that grant was defunded. In terms of capital outlay, we do have 2 incremental items apart from typical carryover amounts from the previous fiscal year budget. We have some final bills payable for the fire substation to our third-party contractors, which carried on past the end of last fiscal year. And then we have an additional cardiac monitor for the fire department in the miscellaneous fire and equipment, GL. For the golf course, only additions here are the increases for enhanced audit services, same with water and sewer. For Municipal Aid Road Fund, MARF, I increased the snow removal and emergencies budget due to the multiple rounds of snowstorms in the early part of 2026. And then finally, for all applicable funds, all I did was allocate the vision insurance into a separate GL and offset that from the health insurance budget. So those are all the changes that are included within the budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 25-26. And again, you can take a look through all the updated fund balances. All the fund balances are healthy, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Lewis? Ms. Whalen?
I would ask that he just do a little more explanation on the COPIC program for people that don't know what that is or what that meant, and the funding and the defunding and the pass-through.
Chief, do you want to handle that?
Yes, please. So with the community paramedic program, that was never a cost to the city. It was a partnership with St. Elizabeth and Covington Fire, and it was a pilot program. So the COPIC is a grant program that funded all of that. The line item you see for the community paramedic in our budget was just merely a pass-through where the money from the COPIC folks went to until our 2 community paramedics were paid. It was absolutely just a pass-through. There was no money really that came out of our departmental cost or anything like that.
But now, without the grant program, they become permanent employees of the
No,
city?
no. They were part-time
Okay.
only, and they have went back to other employment now. They knew it was a pilot program. They knew maybe it could or wouldn't. Both of the gentlemen that we had were super great guys. They had retired from other departments. They were really good paramedics. And if it were to start back up through some other funding source, they would be interested in coming back. But they were currently retired, and that was just something that they really felt passionate about. But at this point in time, we don't have a funding source for it, so they are no longer with us.
I appreciate you explaining that so people had a better understanding of what that meant. And I
Thank
guess
you.
my other question is about the vision insurance allocations and what that means and what that looks like.
So this is something that our HR director, Laura Bencala, has been working on. Basically, we have sort of upped the vision insurance allocation for our employees. I think we're still, this is something we'll talk about during the budget retreat, but basically, you know, it covers, Mayor, stop me if I'm wrong, it covers initial, what are they called?
They cover an eye exam and
Eye exam,
materials,
yes.
Some allotment towards frame and some allotments towards contacts and their schedules as to how often they can do
Correct.
those. And what you did was you just broke that
Her mic
piece.
is not on.
Oh, there was a allotment for exam and then materials, whether that be glasses or contacts, with the maximum that we would pay. And then what you have done is just broken that piece out of the overlying health
Correct.
line so that you could just manage that one piece of it. We could get some trends as to how much
Yeah,
of
so
the
we
health
can
insurance.
account for it separately.
Yeah, so we could account for it separately. It did not increase the overall health fund budget, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
On the
Ms. Chambers?
I'm sorry, I thought my thing was still on, I apologize. On the COPIC money, where was that grant money from?
COPIC is a foundation, and that's what they do, is they fund opportunities like that. COPIC is a grant, that is what the entity is. It is a grant program. It is an entity that's what they specialize in.
Is it a nonprofit?
It's a nonprofit organization, and that's what they do. But you can only use them so many times to start up a program like that. You can't keep applying for COPIC. It's a startup program. It gets it up and running. It focuses on pilot programs and things like that. So once you're up and running, then you've got to either fund it some other way or pay for it yourself.
Do you have any opinions on the effectiveness of the program? So we can evaluate if we want to move forward with that or stop doing that in the future?
It was a very effective program. Our big takeaway from it is it relieves some of the stress on the 911 system. By these community paramedics going out into our community, helping folks that may just need to get their medicine or something like that. These are things that they can do to eliminate some of the non-emergent calls on the 4 ambulances that we run. 4 ambulances are tied up pretty quickly when you start doing stuff like that. So it was a tremendous benefit to us along those lines. Where the hospital seen the biggest part of their savings was readmittals. By the community paramedics and the folks from the hospital that went out with our community paramedics every day, by them going out and alleviating some of the returns to the ER, any readmittance, that's where a lot of times they were not seeing payment for that. when somebody's going back in for the same thing. So that savings alone to the hospital was tremendous. So it really surprised me when they didn't re-up the program. From what everybody's hearing in news and everything else, it sounds like that they're kind of on hard times right now. They've been tightening up, cutting out travel and this and that. So maybe after they get over this little bump in the road, maybe they'll be interested in partnering with us again on that. What is so important in that partnership is all of the services that they have in-house, because not everyone needs a therapist, not everyone needs a breathing specialist. St. E has all these folks already on the payroll. So whenever we determine, what direction that we need to go with the patient, they had these folks in-house to come out and go with us on that. It's just without their partnership, it's really hard for us to provide, the complete service like we were in partnership with them. So it's a very good program. It's beneficial to a lot of folks, but without the partnership with St. E, it's really hard for us to provide a level of service like we could with them. So.
All right, any other discussion? All right, next item on our agenda is Chief Mallory. This is an update to Police Department rules and regulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Our rules and regulations were initially adopted by council in 1983, and they were last updated in 2002. So looking over them, we went through them and noticed some things that needed to be updated. Most of the updates were minor corrections like grammar and spelling and taking out gender-specific language. But the main reason for the update refers to KRS 15520, which is the Officer Bill of Rights. And it was amended back in 2018 and addresses disciplinary process that the police department must follow when disciplining a officer for any complaints or anything like that. And these updates will just get us in line back with KRS 15520. So you have the rules and regs to look over, so we're just asking that you review the updates and approve them moving forward.
Does anyone have any questions for Chief Mallory regarding the regulations?
Are they underlined and struck through, the changes, or just?
I'm sorry.
Are the changes underlined and struck through so that they're easy to pick out of the information you gave us?
This is the final draft. I can get you the updates if you'd like them.
Just easier, I guess, to take a look at what's changing.
Okay. Yeah, we can get you that.
Any other questions? I do think a periodic review of regulations is always valuable, so thank you for doing that. I know it was a lot of effort on your department to put that together, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have for discussion a motor vehicle queue ordinance. Mr. Hunt.
All right, so in your council packets, you received the proposed ordinance about vehicle queuing, and all queuing means is vehicle stacking. And that originates from a business onto a public right-of-way, and a lot of times it's creating life safety issues and standards to address it. That's really the ordinance. But before I get into the ordinance, I do want to be clear that this is not about any one specific business. This is something that we are seeing across certain high turnover uses, and that could be anything from quick service restaurants, coffee chains, truck stops, and even sometimes industrial operations throughout the city. So let's start with the problem. If you turn your attention to the screen, you can kind of follow along with some of the bullet points that I have. When vehicle queues spill out into the roadway, you start to see travel lanes get restricted, congestion build, and in some cases, traffic backing into the intersections. That alone is an issue, but what it really becomes a concern is when it starts impacting emergency response and overall roadway safety. This isn't new. This is something that we've dealt with for years, and we've addressed it in a variety of ways, mostly at the development stage or through zoning and site design. So during the last zoning update, we required an increased on-site stacking standard We did some stuff with internal circulation, and there were other minimum standards that we did to keep traffic on the property. And for the most part, it solved the majority of the issues that we were having with fast food restaurants specifically. I would say it was probably about 99% effective. But there was obviously some gaps, because there's still some issue out there. Zoning and design standards can account for physical design, but it doesn't fully account for how a business operates day to day. Things like grand openings, promotions, mobile ordering is a big one. That's something the last time we did our zoning regulation, mobile ordering only lanes wasn't even a thing. Or limited service capacity. They can all push demand beyond what the site was designed to handle. And these aren't hypothetical situations. We've seen it and we've been documenting it throughout the city of what's going on. So when that happens, it's no longer a business issue. It becomes a public safety issue. And that's why we're here tonight. We're here tonight to introduce standards and address the issue head on. So the purpose of the ordinance, pretty simple really. It's to protect the public right-of-way, maintain safe traffic flow, and make sure emergency access is never compromised. It applies broadly to commercial, industrial, and non-residential uses, and it establishes a clear line. If your business activity is pushing traffic into the public right-of-way, that is where the issue begins. And it also gives us something we haven't had before, which is consistent, enforceable framework. So there's a lot of words up here about prohibited conduct. I think the easiest way to explain this is take a look at the picture and I'll kind of walk you through it. So every property in Boone County, every property in the city of Florence has a property line, right? When you abut a road, the area between the line and the line, that is the public right-of-way. The violation occurs when a vehicle is sitting there staged within the public right-of-way. That is when this ordinance comes in effect. That is a citable offense. There's a lot of other issues in here as it relates to, emergency access routes, but all that really is encompassed for the most part within the right-of-way. If you're impeding the right-of-way, there's an issue. It is prohibited and it constitutes a violation. So that's the biggest thing to remember throughout all this ordinance is that green line or yellow line, depending on which one you're looking at, matters a lot. So at its core, the expectation is straightforward, and this is kind of encompassed in the zoning regulations now. Traffic generated by a business must be contained on the business property. How that is achieved a lot of times is up to the operator and their approved concept plan. There is some flexibility in this ordinance, and that may include adjusting staffing, using traffic control measures. Those little yellow dividers you see at many drive-thrus, those can solve so many issues for rather relatively small investment. Improving internal circulation, limiting high-value promotions. That's free giveaways, giving away keychains, giving away, whatever they're giving away. Those have the tendency to cause huge lines. And then sometimes even delivery schedules, we'll see that with when these big semis come in to deliver food. Those can, if they're not done at the right time, those can cause some serious issues. The key point with really this slide and why it's called out in the ordinance is that this is operational. It's not always about going in and redesigning the whole site. It's about how business is managed on a day-to-day basis so that it does not impact the public right-of-way. And at Florence, we are a very pro-business community. We want every business to succeed, but that comes with a responsibility. Every business is approved based off of documented assumptions about its operations. A lot of times it's including how traffic will be handled on site. We will never approve, nor have we ever approved, a plan that assumes traffic queues extend into the roadway and disrupt traffic flow. A plan like that would never be approved. This is really about holding businesses accountable to the commitments made during the approval process and ensuring operations do not create safety issues for the public. The Emergency Operational Authority, this is probably one of the most important tools in the ordinance. And all this really says is that a police officer, code enforcement officer, somebody from the fire department goes out on site and there is a major life safety issue. You got cars stacked out onto the road. We have the ability now with this ordinance to immediately take actions to correct that. And there's a couple different recommendations of what you could do, but more than likely would be that we mandate that the curb cuts be blocked off. That is the quickest way to fix it, and it has worked in certain circumstances. But that is what emergency operational authority is. All right, so on the enforcement section. The penalties are structured to escalate, and that's with any kind of code citation. So you have first offense, second offense, and then you have repeat violation. This mirrors pretty much every standard code violation schedule that we have within the city. The intent with all of these is never to punish, it's to bring operations in compliance. The fine amount is designed to ensure compliance. In the past, we have seen situations where lower penalties were treated as a cost of doing business rather than a reason to fix it, and I can give you all kinds of examples of that. This structure is meant to eliminate that issue and really mandate immediate corrective action. So that is why. And this fine structure is most closely aligned with our chronic nuisance ordinance. That's really where these fines came from, is based off of that ordinance that was adopted by the city a few years ago. So with that, that is a very high-level overview of a very draft ordinance that Tom is still kind of going through and buttoning up certain pieces of it. But it's kind of new. It was written to address some issues that need addressed. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about it, if any.
I just reiterate, this is not targeting any one specific business.
Sure.
There are multiple different classes of businesses that do tend to cause an issue for our residents who are trying to get around town. And it's a balancing act. As a business owner myself, I do understand, you want access to your site, you want people to be able to visit you, but you also want to make sure that you're a good neighbor and a good steward of goodwill, and that you don't back up people who really are on their way somewhere else other than your business. And so I think this is a great step forward. Does anyone on council have any questions for Mr. Hunt? Ms. Chambers?
I just want to make the comment, great job, Josh.
Oh, well,
And-
thank you.
I guess my only question is, if you have a very small business and they have a one-off situation and they're charged this $1,000, do we have any flexibility with that?
Sure. I mean, our code guys are never looking to go out there, and maybe Eric can speak to this because it's his guys more than I can, but I know from personal experience, we always work with businesses, especially in those one-off situations. We're going to work with them every time. This is about the repeated, constant issues that are happening sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times a day. We have to address those. We have to get them stopped. And we work with any business in the city. We always ask that they reach out, kind of let us know what's going on. A lot of times it's something that can be solved relatively easy, but we'll absolutely work with them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms.
I
Cable?
don't have a question. Rather, I just want to say that I do appreciate this because it is about safety. And I'm, again, not naming anybody, any business per se, but this is something that I think will be a tremendous asset for the city. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right. There's no need for a closed session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Whalen, second by Ms. Cable. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for coming.